Let me ask you a question. If Alibaba disappeared tomorrow, would you still know how to find reliable suppliers in China? Most people couldn't because they have confused a sourcing platform with a sourcing strategy. Those are two very different things. For years, many people have asked me, what is the best website to find suppliers in China? But honestly, I don't think that is the right question anymore. Because successful sourcing isn't about finding one website. It is about knowing where to look, when to look, and why. In this video, I will show you 11 professional sourcing methods that can help you find better manufacturers, make better sourcing decisions, and build a stronger import business. And here is the interesting part. One of my favorite sourcing methods isn't even a sourcing platform. We will get to that in just a few minutes. Welcome to Import Export Masterclass. This series isn't about viral products or get-rich-quick business ideas. It is about how international trade really works. After nearly 20 years in international trade, I have learned one simple lesson. Successful importers don't succeed because they know more suppliers. They succeed because they make better sourcing decisions. That's exactly what this series is about. Everything I will share with you comes from real business experience, not theory. Let's get started. Before I show you the 11 sourcing methods, I want to share one lesson that completely changed the way I think about sourcing. I think this is where most beginners make their biggest mistake. They start by asking, where can I find suppliers? But I don't think that is the right question. The better question is, how do I find the right supplier? Because those are two very different challenges. Finding a supplier is relatively easy. Finding the right supplier is much harder. Over the years, I realized something. Successful sourcing isn't about contacting more suppliers. It is about asking better questions, doing better research, and making better decisions. That is why I stopped looking for the perfect website and started building a sourcing process. Once I made that shift, everything changed. And that is exactly the mindset I would like to share with you today. Okay, before we get into the list, there is one thing I would like you to keep in mind. As we go through these sourcing methods, don't ask yourself which one is the best, because there isn't one. Every sourcing method has strengths, and every sourcing method has limitations. Some are great for discovering new suppliers, others are better for building relationships, some help you compare manufacturers, others help you verify them. Remember, the best sourcing decisions rarely come from one method. They come from combining the right methods at the right time. So instead of looking for the perfect sourcing method, focus on understanding when and why to use each one. Let's start with one of the most powerful sourcing methods available: trade shows. If we are talking about China, there is one event that is impossible to ignore: the Canton Fair. Every year, thousands of manufacturers and hundreds of thousands of buyers come together in one place. And there is a reason why. Trade shows allows you to do something that no website can fully replace. Meet manufacturers face to face. You can compare products, ask technical questions, evaluate quality, and most importantly, start building relationships from your very first conversation. One of the biggest advantages is speed. Instead of emailing suppliers one by one, you can meet dozens, sometimes hundreds, in just a few days. Of course, attending international trade shows requires time, planning, and investment. But if you are serious about building a long-term import business, I believe it is one of the best investments you can make. Another sourcing method that almost every importer knows is using B2B Marketplaces. Platforms like Alibaba, Global Sources, and Made in China have made international sourcing easier than ever. They give buyers access to thousands of manufacturers across almost every industry. And yes, I still use them. But here is the mistake many beginners make. They stop there. A sourcing platform should be your starting point, not your entire sourcing strategy. Great suppliers can be found on every platform. So for once, the platform doesn't make the difference, your evaluation process does. That is why I never rely on just one marketplace. I compare, verify, research, and only then make a decision. Here is a sourcing method that many importers underestimate. Google. Not because Google replaces sourcing platforms. It doesn't. But because it helps you research beyond them. Most beginners use Google to search for suppliers. Better importers use Google to research manufacturers, factory websites, product catalogs, company information, industry news, and sometimes suppliers that never appear on major B2B platforms. Google won't choose the right supplier for you, but it will help you ask better questions. And better questions usually lead to better sourcing decisions. Another sourcing method that is becoming more valuable every year is LinkedIn. Most people think of LinkedIn as a place to find jobs. I think of it as a place to build business relationships. Unlike sourcing platforms, LinkedIn isn't built around products. It is built around people. Factory owners, export managers, sales directors, purchasing managers, decision makers, and yes, you will even find me there. I will leave my LinkedIn profile in the description below. Feel free to connect. One of the things I like most about LinkedIn is that it allows you to learn about a company before you ever contact it. You can understand who is behind the business, what they do, how they present themselves, and sometimes who your first conversation should be with. It won't replace supplier verification, but it is an excellent way to start building professional relationships. But one sourcing method has probably helped me more than any website ever has. Supplier referrals. This is something I don't think enough people talk about. Over the years, some of the best manufacturers I have worked with weren't the first suppliers I contacted. They were introduced to me by other suppliers. That is one of the biggest advantages of working inside a manufacturing ecosystem like China. Good suppliers often know other good suppliers. Packaging companies, component manufacturers, tooling specialists, logistics partners. Businesses that complement each other instead of competing with each other. Sometimes one conversation leads to an entire supplier network, and that is something no website can ever replace. Sometimes the best sourcing decisions start long before you contact a supplier. Industry associations are one of the most overlooked resources in international trade. Almost every major industry has organizations representing manufacturers, exporters, and businesses operating in that sector. They won't help you negotiate prices, but they can help you understand the industry itself, market trends, regulations, trade events, and sometimes even introduce you to companies worth researching. The more you understand an industry, the better sourcing decisions you will make. So far, we have looked at websites, people, and professional networks. Now, let's move beyond them. Here is another sourcing resource that many businesses overlook: trade offices and chambers of commerce. Their job isn't to manufacture products. Their job is to support international trade. Many of them work closely with exporters, manufacturers, and industry organizations, which means they often have valuable market knowledge and business connections. If I am entering a new industry or sourcing from a country for the first time, these organizations can be a great place to start. Not because they will do the sourcing for you, but because they will often point you in the right direction. But what if you don't have time to manage the sourcing process yourself? That is where professional sourcing agents can create real value. Many people think a sourcing agent's only job is finding suppliers. I don't think that is true. A good sourcing agent helps you compare manufacturers, coordinate samples, communicate with suppliers, solve problems, and manage the sourcing process more efficiently. Of course, not every sourcing agent provides the same level of service. Choosing the right sourcing partner is just as important as choosing the right supplier. The right sourcing agent doesn't replace your business. They strengthen it. And finally, let's talk about what I believe is the most powerful sourcing method of all, factory visits. Because no website, no catalog, and no company profile can fully replace seeing a factory with your own eyes. A factory visit allows you to understand far more than a product. You can observe the production environment, quality control, organization, communication, and the way the business actually operates. But perhaps the biggest advantage isn't the factory itself. It is a relationship you begin building with the people behind it. Remember, business is built between people, and trust grows much faster when you have actually met each other. That's why if I had the opportunity, I would never rely on a website alone when an important supplier could be visited in person. So, after looking at all these sourcing methods, what is the biggest lesson? I don't think it is about choosing the best platform. It is about building a better sourcing process. At the beginning of this video, I asked you a simple question. If Alibaba disappeared tomorrow, would you still know how to find reliable suppliers in China? I hope your answer is different now, because this video was never really about Alibaba. It was about learning how to think differently about sourcing. The more experience you gain, the more you realize successful sourcing isn't about finding one great supplier. It is about building a sourcing process that consistently helps you make better decisions. Platforms will change, markets will change, prices will change, but the ability to research, evaluate, and building strong business relationships will always be valuable. If there is one idea I would like you to remember from today's video, it is this: don't rely on one platform. Learn how to source smarter, because better sourcing builds better businesses. And if you are serious about importing from China, but you would like some professional guidance, I would be happy to help. Whether you are looking for reliable suppliers, developing a sourcing strategy, or verifying manufacturers before placing an order, you will find my consulting services in the description below. Before you go, let me ask you one more question. Once you have found a great supplier, what is next? You need customers, right? And that is exactly what we will cover in the next episode. How to find international buyers using LinkedIn. I will show you the same platform from a completely different perspective. Not to find suppliers, but to find buyers. If that sounds interesting, I will see you in the next episode. I am Murat. Thanks for watching. Take care. Bye bye.